Welcome back. On this side of the tape, we'll be exploring what we usually do with our feelings and the new alternative that you'll be learning about on these tapes of letting them go. What is it we usually do with our feelings? If you examine your life, you'll see that what you usually do with your feelings is one of two things. You're either suppressing them or expressing them. Now, suppression is when a feeling comes up into awareness. You feel bothered by something and you push it back down. Now, sometimes this is done consciously, but most of the time we do it totally automatically. We don't even realize we've done it until we feel heavier. We feel cut off inside. We feel blank. We just don't feel happy. And expression is when, if we're angry, we'll yell. If we're sad, we'll cry. It's putting the feeling into action. Now, suppression is something that we're doing all the time. It's become second nature. Expression is a little more obvious. But when we're suppressing, we're building up pressure inside. It's like having a pressure cooker inside of us with the flame on high and the stopcock totally clogged. And what you'll be learning on these tapes is how to take the pressure off, so we're not these walking time bombs anymore. Now, suppression is also what causes illness. Medical science now agrees that stress and also suppression can cause at least 75%, if not more, of all illness. The most obvious ones, of course, are ulcers, migraines, tension. But most illness has some stress-related or suppression-related incidents. Now let's explore suppression a little more. What is it we do when we're suppressing? Well, most of the time we're just going about life and trying to keep a lid on all these uncomfortable feelings. But sometimes if we're feeling uncomfortable, we've also developed ways of coping, ways of escaping from the feeling long enough so that we can push it back down. An example would be if you've had a rough day at the office, you might come home and have a drink, or sit and zone out in front of the television. Sex is sometimes used as an escape. And exercise. Again, there's nothing wrong with any of these things. It's just that when we use them as an alternative to letting go of these uncomfortable feelings, they tend to backfire. Because after we've watched television, we're even more exhausted and we go to sleep having not dealt with whatever happened during that day, and we carry it with us to the next day. And expression is the basis of a lot of therapies. And it's something that is a lot better than suppression. However, what happens to the person we just expressed on? Supposing we were angry at someone at work and we yelled at them. We're going to have to come back and deal with that the next day. What about those times when you've had a rough day at the office and you come home and take it out on your spouse? So it might make you feel a little better, but it's only momentary. You also have to deal with the feelings that you have about the person that you just expressed to. You have to deal with their feelings and your feelings. So it can just escalate and get totally out of hand. In fact, that's why many relationships break down, because even though we're expressing, which is more healthy than suppressing, it's not the final solution. In fact, even therapeutic expression is much better than suppression. But many people get locked into long therapeutic interventions without really getting to the core of the problem. So how do we solve this? That's what these tapes are all about. You'll be learning over these tapes a way of letting go of all the suppressed energy that you've been holding on to. all the thoughts and feelings and emotions that have been holding you back can be let go of. So let's explore what that's like. You know what it's like to suppress. You know what it's like to express. So what is it like to release? Think back to the last time you had a really good belly laugh. Someone said something to you that you found really funny. And if you can think about how you felt inside, you probably felt lighter afterwards. That's why comedy can be very popular. And that's why if you have a friend who's upset by something, you sometimes try to help them by using humor. Now, not always when you laugh do you let go. But when you have a really genuine belly laugh inside, that feels the same as releasing. Another example of how it might feel is if you've ever lost something, like your keys, and searched the whole house looking for them. And you looked here, and you looked there, and you looked everywhere, and you couldn't find them. And then finally you reached into your back pocket, and there they were. Ah, that sigh of release. That sigh of letting go. Oh, I have the keys, it's okay. And you spontaneously let go in that moment. And by the way, if you wanted to know what it sounds like to release, even though you don't need to make any sound when you release, it sounds just like that sigh. Like, ah, like a real letting go inside. And it looks a little like, if you're a visual type person, it looks a little like things just dissolving, like light coming into the darkness, like a lightness pervading all parts of your life. So how do we do this? Well, there are 3 ways that we approach releasing. One is by letting go directly through a series of questions. And the other way is by allowing or welcoming whatever we're feeling in the moment. And the third way is by diving into the very core of the feeling. So as a way of exploring this together, what I'd like you to do is pick up an object, a pen or a pencil or a matchbook or something that you'd be willing to let go of. And we'll go through a little analogy together that will help you understand a lot more what we mean when we talk about releasing. So pick up your pen or pencil. And first start by gripping it tightly in your hand. Now the pen or the pencil represents our feelings, our negative emotions that we've been holding on to. And our hand represents our gut. Or even more deeply, it represents our awareness or our consciousness. If you notice when you don't like something, your awareness contracts around it. So grip it really tightly, in fact, until it gets a little uncomfortable. Does this feel familiar? This is very often how we feel inside. We feel really locked in. And because we're so locked in, we forget that this object is something that we're just holding on to. The feelings are just something that we're holding on to, and we can always, at any moment, choose to let them go. So now open your hand. And I apologize if it feels a little uncomfortable. But you'll notice it starts to relax a little once you've opened your hand. Now roll the object around in your hand, the pen or the pencil. And this might seem really obvious to you, but notice that the pen or the pencil or the object is not attached to your hand. How often has it felt to you that the feeling is attached to you? That the anger was justified and you couldn't let go of it? That the grief was endless and there was no end to it and you couldn't get free of it? Well, it's because we were gripping it so tightly and we forgot that there's a separation between us and the feeling. So as you roll the object around in your hand, notice that it's not attached to you. None of your feelings are attached to you. And because of that, you can always make the choice to let them go. And in this class, on these tapes, we'll be using a series of questions to lead you into the experience of letting go. Now you'll find as you work with the questions, they might seem simplistic. And they're very simple intentionally. They're designed to lead into the experience of letting go. And you'll even find that as you work with this material, the questions become secondary. You'll be able to go right to that experience of letting go of your emotions, letting go of your limiting feeling. In fact, that's one of the things you'll gain from this tape series, is the ability to tap your natural ability to let go of any uncomfortable thought or feeling in the moment. Now, put your hand out in front of you. And in a moment, I'm just going to have you let go of that pen or pencil or object. So stick your hand out, and now could you just let it go? Now you notice that was easy to do. It can be that easy to let go of any emotion, no matter how long-standing, no matter how much it's been bothering you from the past, you can just let it go. Now go ahead, pick up the pen or pencil, because it might distract you to have it lying on the floor. And very often, we all fall into this habit too, even when we accidentally let go of something. Because we're habituated to holding on, we might run back into holding on to it. Now just put the pen or pencil in your hand again and just leave your palm open. Now if your awareness was not contracted around these feelings, they would just roll through your experience like clouds through the sky, or like water off a duck's back. It's only because we contract around them that they tend to persist, or we tend to hold on to them. So the other way we'll be working on feelings is getting into the habit of welcoming them, or allowing them, or even embracing them, knowing that it's okay to feel the way we feel. The more we can just allow ourselves to feel the way we feel, our consciousness expands. Our awareness stays open, just like your hand is right now with a pen. And if you notice, if you tried to walk through life open-handedly like this, it would be very difficult to cling to your feelings. They would just automatically start to roll away. So just tip your hand slightly and notice again how that was even easier than consciously trying to let go. So allow yourself, as you work with these tapes, to get into the habit of welcoming or allowing what you feel. Just let it be here. The more you can allow yourself to feel the way you're feeling, or think the way you're thinking, you'll notice that things tend to open up dramatically. And the third way that we'll be exploring releasing is by diving into the very core of the feeling or the limitation. Now again, if you pick up the pen or pencil and hold it in your hand, obviously it looks solid. All objects in our world look very solid. But if you magnify them enough, like under an electron microscope or under these new instruments they have for physics, the more you magnify it, the less solid it seems. In fact, you'll get to a point where it seems like there's mostly space and very little substance. Well, at the core of every feeling, of every limitation, is that same space. In fact, all our feelings, even the ones that are the worst, the most long-standing, have as much substance to them as a soap bubble. It's only a few microns thick. And what happens if you try to touch or go into the center of a soap bubble? It just pops. Well, you notice if you're willing to just dive in awareness to the very core of what you're feeling in this moment, you'll notice the same thing happens. You'll be able to just go into the core, become aware that a lot of our upset is much to do about nothing. And in that recognition, as you discover that there's really nothing at the core of all these what seem like intense limitations, they'll start to dissolve all by themselves. So we'll be approaching releasing from these three perspectives. They're all different ways to get to the same place inside, the same place of letting go. And we'll be working with them together on the different tapes. Also, you might be thinking now, well, I've got a little bit of a sense of it, but how do I do that? Well, don't worry. The tapes will guide you experientially through the experience of letting go from these different perspectives. Let's explore what we just talked about together now. Allow yourself to get comfortable and focus inside, and this can be done with your eyes open or your eyes closed. On the next side of this program, we'll be exploring the different feelings that we'll be focusing on throughout the program. But now let's just get our feet wet just a little bit. Focus on whatever you're feeling in the moment. And it doesn't have to be a strong feeling. It doesn't have to be about anything in particular. You can even just see how you feel about this program and the things that you're wanting to get from it. But just let yourself feel whatever you're feeling in this moment. Allow it fully. And then I'm going to ask a series of questions. And these questions are very simple and they're very direct, so you don't need to think about them a lot. In fact, the more you can do this with your heart, not your head, the more you'll get out of it. So feel whatever you're feeling in the moment. And now could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Just allow yourself again to feel whatever you're feeling in this moment. Notice how there's already been a subtle shift. And if you're not sure, don't worry about it. We're just getting started. And this is just the first baby step we're taking together. But again, allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling in this moment. Now, could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Now remember, when we're saying letting go, it's the same as dropping the pen. It's just allow yourself to relax and open inside as best you can. And there's no right answer to these questions. These questions just point to the experience of letting go. So no is always an acceptable answer if that's what you feel genuinely. I've seen some of the biggest releases in classes when someone gave themselves permission to just say no. So yes or no is acceptable. We just want to stay away from maybe. So again, allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling in this moment. You don't have to label it anyway. Just feel it. And could you let it go? Just could you? Is it possible? Would you if you could? When? And feel whatever you're feeling again. See what you're feeling in this moment. And if you're feeling a little better, you might want to think about one of the items on your list of things that you'd like to get from this class. And see what feeling arises in this moment. And if you're having a hard time getting in touch with your feelings, don't worry about it. The whole next side of the tape will show you what exactly we'll be letting go of and how to get in touch with it. But for now, just focus on whatever you're feeling. And by the way, feeling blank is a feeling as well, or feeling numb. Now just allow yourself to feel it, whatever it is. And could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? And again, just allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling in this moment. Welcome it if you can. And then could you let it go? Would you? When? Now you may have noticed either a profound or a very, very subtle shift in your awareness. Either way, it's okay. We're just getting started. And this is just the first step in a whole series of steps that will take you into feeling the way you want to feel and having what you want in your life. So gradually bring your awareness to a more external focus. And by the way, releasing can always be done with eyes open or eyes closed. Either way is okay. So between now and when you listen to the next tape, play around a little bit with what we just did together and see what you can discover inside.